You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Google Ads as a whole. So spent a lot of time last year talking about Amazon ads as a whole. Actually, our previous podcast with Destiny with Sean was around, Amazon advertising. And, coming out of the Unbox conference, just met a lot of great people there and people doing some really neat stuff. And as people look to kind of diversify their ad spend right now, kind of an omni-channel, maybe it's retail, media. A lot of people are asking a lot of different questions. And so I just happened to run into a really unique company there called Amped. And Tyler's here today that's going to kind of walk through, Google ad strategies as a whole. And so, Tyler, I'll kick it over to you. If you want to do a brief intro on yourself and Amped, that'd be awesome. And then we can just kind of jump into the conversation. Sound good?
Yeah, definitely, Aaron. I really appreciate you having me on today and excited for our conversation. A quick background on myself is I've actually been at the company Amped for almost 7 years now. The company's actually been around for about 7.5, so I've been here for quite a while. And we actually started as a data science engine for D2C companies, helping them leverage their Google Analytics and their Google Ads data at scale. Basically a recommendation engine, mine the data, recommended insights and actions to take to kind of capitalize on it. And what we saw was, the more you could get recommendations and actions around Google Ads and the ad spend, the closer you were to revenue and ROI and all that good stuff from a technology perspective. So we started kind of focusing more on the Google Ads side of things, really became experts in that side, partnering with a lot of the biggest agencies in the world, helping them manage their D2C data set on Google Ads. And then about 1.5 years ago, we started thinking, what would a world look like if you could send Google Ads traffic to the best converting website in the world, which is Amazon, right? And no one had really done it before because there's no way to do attribution and actually connect the endpoints and see what was converting and what wasn't. So we were able to partner up with Amazon Ads team and get early access to their Amazon attribution beta, which allowed us to start leveraging our technology that we've been building for 7 years, but start pointing it towards Amazon, sending traffic to product listing pages, Amazon storefront pages, and actually seeing what converted and what didn't convert. And so that's what we've been doing for about the last 1.5 years. We launched a beta 1.5 years ago, did it for about 3 to 5 months, and then officially came out of beta fall of 2021. So a little over 1 year now of working with these Amazon brands. It's been quite the journey. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of successes for sure, but a lot of learnings. As you launch a new product, you learn, what products convert well, what products don't convert well. And now we've been really focusing, a big initiative for us in 2023 is helping brands understand what products should they advertise on Google Ads, but also what products should they not advertise on Google Ads? Because there's a lot of products that just are not going to work from CPCs and the price range and conversion rates, but there's a lot that are. And so that's been a big focus for us.
No, that's awesome. So the Amazon attribution, that was the biggest concern for the longest time, right? Is, hey, I'm sending all this traffic, but I don't know if it converts or how it converts. I mean, you can look over time, the numbers are going up or down, but you're able to track attribution at this point in time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And what's interesting is what we learned over the last year is a lot of the bigger brands on Amazon have been doing Google Ads and external traffic strategies for years, but they've just said, hey, we've got big budgets. We'll send in the traffic and, we think it's impactful, but we don't really know, but we have big enough budgets to justify it and it's fine. And so now we're actually able to connect the dots and actually show what keywords are people plugging into Google, then clicking your ad and then getting add to carts or converting on your product and actually seeing what those ACoS numbers are, completely connecting full circle. So you can actually see what is the actual ROI of Google Ads, which is really, really exciting because obviously Google Ads is a very big channel. I think there's like 3 billion product searches every single day on it. So being able to see what searches lead to conversions is so important.
Yeah, I mean, you're also at a point where people are looking for other places to put those Amazon ad dollars. And so, and it's on multiple levels, right? Because, you've got retail media is popping up all over the place. This bucket of money has got, 15 different hands in it now. People are trying to figure it out, but Google's been a tried and true for a long time. But even the biggest thing was if you're sending it to if you're sending it direct to consumer site, the attribution. Amazon has been that black hole, right? The giant enigma. And if you can figure that out, so you just lay over top, like your current ads, they just plug you in and then they can get that attribution, because the other flip side is there's now more scrutiny around paid media spend. I mean, I'm talking to 20 or 30 brands a week, right? At startup, the Fortune 100, everybody's like, hey, I'm getting more scrutiny on every ad dollar I spend right now. I might have to dial back. And if they are going into Google, they have to show how they got a conversion. So they're driving it to a direct consumer site. But like you mentioned, Amazon's the highest converting site. So you're kind of torn.
Yeah. So the way to think about it is Google and Amazon can't really talk to each other. Amazon has their Amazon attribution data, but it can't share its data set with Google Ads. And Google can't fully share its data set with Amazon, because at the end of the day, Google and Amazon kind of are frenemies. They're kind of competing. So you need a technology as a middleman that communicates to both sides, pulls in Google data, pulls in Amazon data, stitches it back together. So you create your Google ad campaign through the Amped system, the Amped platform, that pushes it to Google. So you see your campaign in Google Ads. It pushes attribution over to Amazon, and it's constantly pulling that data and stitching it back together into our platform, so you can see the perfectly married data set.
Got it. So what do you see happening with then paid media budgets? Like, are you seeing the same trend where money's coming out of Amazon? And there's a couple of different things that probably be a different podcast. One is just the amount of inventory that Amazon's holding now. Brands are afraid they're going to run out of stock. That's just a reality. Yeah. And that's on the 1P and the 3P side. So people are dialing back there. The other one is just, the overall attribution piece. What are you seeing happen with budgets across the board?
Yeah, I think there's two things. The first one is people are trying to get away from Amazon ads. Amazon ads had this huge skyrocket in CPCs over the last 2 years, right? It's pretty wild how much people are spending on CPCs on Amazon. However, it still economically pencils a lot of the time because the conversion rates are so good. So we always teach our brands, $1 usually goes to Amazon ads. I'm actually giving a talk at a conference next week, and I have a presentation, a visual of, like, you have a lake, right? You have a big river that's flowing into that lake, which is Amazon ads. It should be your biggest river. It should be your healthiest river, and you should be spending a lot on that river. But you should be diversifying away. You can't be an e-commerce brand that only has one channel of revenue. You have to, if you want to be a brand, you need to have multiple streams flowing into your lake, right? And I think what happens is a lot of brands on Amazon get so comfortable with Amazon ads that they just put all their dollars in there. And at the end of the day, you're really not a brand at that point. You're a company that sells a lot of products on Amazon. If you want to be an e-commerce brand, you need to have multiple streams of revenue, multiple ways to tap into your customer base. And that's what we really encourage our brands to think about is, okay, what external traffic strategies can we do to have a diversified marketing mix? Is it Google ads? Is it Facebook ads? Is it influencers? Is it TikTok? Is it an email strategy? Whatever it is, it's going to be a different mix. It's going to be a different strategy depending on what kind of products you sell and where your customers live. But if you want to be an e-commerce brand in 2023, you need to have a diversified marketing channel. The other thing that we think about is, and we really need it's a totally different framework for Amazon native brands, is not every channel is going to have the same ACoS or the same ROI. We worked with a lot of brands and they're like, hey, my Amazon ads this last year, my Amazon ads gives me a 15% ACoS. I need Google ads to do 15% ACoS or I'm not spending on it. Obviously at some point it needs to have a positive ROI, of course, but Fortune 500 companies, not every channel is a 15% ACoS. You have some that are really good. And then you have some that are brand awareness campaigns or top of the funnel campaigns. and they all produce different ROIs, but they all have a different intention in terms of why that company is investing in them. And so I think in 2023, Amazon brands are going to start to kind of open their eyes a little bit to, hey, like not every channel is going to be my best channel, but I need to have a mix in order to have a diversified budget and a good marketing mix.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think 2023, especially if you can get this attribution, and you couple that with the fact that Amazon, it places a higher value on outside traffic being driven to Amazon, right? In the algorithm, in the search algorithm as a whole, it's placing more value on the more traffic that's coming in from off Amazon. And one of the things that's held people back is the attribution piece. Well, if you can connect the attribution piece, like I think there's going to be a lot of experimentation, I think is kind of what I'm saying is you're right. Like, where does that money go? Does it go to Google? Does it go to Facebook? And are we driving traffic to Amazon or to our direct consumer site? I think we're at a point now where there's enough technology, there's enough AI, enough data gathering and crunching on the back end that is feasible probably by the end of 2023 to get a really robust, marketing plan for what's going on. It'll probably take, I think, another year, but I mean, that's going to solve, I guess it's never really solved, but that's one of the biggest issues that marketers are coming up with is, the past 2 years, everything has changed for them. Their budgets have grown. And at first it was a blank check and now it's highly scrutinized. How do you tie it all together? It's just tough. Are there
I think, just kind of adding on to that. I mean, I think we just got into the Amazon world, and there's obviously lots of different types of sellers and brands on Amazon, but there's a lot that are Amazon native. They started sourcing a product, they put it on the marketplace, they grew it, they sourced other products, and they started on Amazon, right? And they built really successful businesses, but they haven't really done the branding side of it to the extent that a D2C native brand, think like an Allbirds, did when they started, to where all of a sudden now with Amazon, they're allowing you to do multiple channels to tap into customer bases beyond Amazon and see the attribution. So that's a branding initiative. They're giving you Amazon storefronts where you can actually send traffic to an area on Amazon that's solely dedicated to your brand. So we started seeing it a little bit in 2022, but I think 2023, it's going to be the year of branding on Amazon. I mean, there's so much functionality that Amazon's starting to give to sellers to really be brand focused. Amazon rolled out like last year or something, or a year or so, like the ability to actually send an email to people that follow your brand. Think 5 years ago, would you ever be able to actually talk to your customer? It wasn't your customer, it was Amazon's customer. And as Amazon kind of competes more and more with Shopify, there's all these branding initiatives that sellers need to write. They need to stop thinking about, hey, I'm a seller on Amazon. They need to start thinking, I'm a brand on Amazon. And here's my customers. They happen to buy my products off of the Amazon marketplace, but they're buying from my brand.
Right. I totally agree. And that's, I think, one of the things that's even kept brands off Amazon from getting on Amazon was, they want to maintain that customer. They want to own that customer. And as soon as you're on Amazon, it's no longer your customer. You can't communicate with them. You might still be drop shipping, but still limitations on inserts or whatever else branding you want to put inside the actual package you're shipping. But yeah, I mean, that goes along with, kind of this trend that is starting to, I don't know, it pops up every 2 to 3 years where it seems like Amazon is pushing people to the third-party marketplace model. Well, in this case, at the same time they're doing that, they're also opening up all these other branding opportunities at the same time where, I don't think Amazon makes these giant shifts. I think they just slowly move the guardrails over to the point where you don't realize you're on a completely different road now than you were 5 years ago.
Hey, that's really well said.
What advice around Google Ads? I mean, you've lived in this space forever, and with this, gigantic push that, I'm just feeling from the brands I'm talking to spend more on Google, Facebook, Insta, TikTok, yes and no. I mean, TikTok, everybody's still trying to figure out. But just in the spend category, how much of it is going to Google? And do you have any key insights that you guys have picked up? I mean, you guys have been in the space for 7.5 years now.
Yeah. So I always say, you need a diversified marketing mix. You need to find channels that are off of Amazon to find your customers, but it's going to be different depending on what your product is. So we try to not tell everyone, hey, you have to do Google ads. You need to do something off Amazon. What's right for you? Where are your customers living? Google's usually a good choice because there's search intent behind it, right? If someone's searching for your product on Google, you should probably be showing up there. Whereas social channel, a lot of the time you're pushing products in front of them. Facebook, right? Obviously, Facebook's had its challenges the last year, but even in the heyday of Facebook is, you're scrolling through looking at pictures of friends and family, and then all of a sudden there's a product that you didn't ask for showing up. That can work really well if you're trying to create a segment, create awareness. But with Google, if you have awareness, if people are searching for you, you should probably show up on Google. So what we always teach is think through it as, hey, what product are you selling? Go do some keyword research. You can do it through our system. You can do it through Google Ads itself, but go look at search volumes for products like yourself. So if you're selling a product that is, call it like a cobweb duster, like go and look at what the search volume is. Are people searching cobweb duster 100 times a month, or are they searching it 100,000 times a month, right? I mean, if people are searching cobweb duster 100,000 times a month on Google Ads, and you happen to sell a cobweb duster on Amazon with a good price and 2-day shipping, you should 100% have an ad there, right? So you need to think about search volumes. The other side of it is thinking about CPCs, right? The economics of Google is going to be totally different than Amazon. It's going to have different CPCs. Oftentimes, it's lower CPCs than Amazon ads. Also, it's oftentimes going to have a lower conversion rate than Amazon ads, since Amazon ads, everyone's already on the Amazon platform ready to buy. So you just need to think about it. If you're selling a $10 item and CPCs on Google are going to be $3, probably not the right product to advertise on Google. But if you're selling a $30 item and CPCs are 30 cents, all of a sudden, you don't even have to have that great of a conversion rate to have that economically pencil. So that's how we try to teach our brands who are considering Google ads to think about it, to determine if it's right for them. But at the end of the day, as you said earlier, you have to test different channels, find out which channels are going to be the most efficient for you. They probably are not going to be as efficient as Amazon ads. That's where $1 goes. But other channels are going to be impactful for you because your customers live other places. How can you find them?
No, that's great. So the first one is just, what is the search volume, right, that you're saying? The next one is just the CPC in comparison to price, and is the economics even worth it? So it's not necessarily product driven, home goods, fashion, jewelry, fragrance, beauty. It's basically, hey, a numbers game. How many people are searching on the terms, and how much is it going to cost you based on the cost of your product and your net margin? So,
yep, exactly. There is some nuances to like categories, right? We see products of all different categories work at varying degrees, of course. The things that we like the most basic one is, I always use this as an example, is gift baskets is going to be really difficult because, if you Google gift basket and I Google gift basket, we're probably thinking something totally different, right? And that's a very personal buying decision. But if there's a very straightforward product, a dust buster or an extendable cobweb brush, right? That is, you search that and I search that, we're looking for the exact same thing. Those types of products work really, really well on Google because there's not a huge personal component to the buying making process.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. What do you think is going to happen with, Walmart? Is this same type of, scenario going to play out with Walmart? Because I just see, I just go back to this, Jeff Bezos is really straightforward, right? A lot of people are shocked on the One Piece side, oh, I can't believe they're the lowest margin business that we have now. Well, yeah, he came out and said, your margin is my opportunity. He was really straightforward. He said it. The other thing is, people forget that he said, 30 to 40 years, Amazon will probably be out of business. And we're at the 30-year mark right now. So I have a lot of people scratching their heads saying, Walmart's been around for a long time. And there's this renewed shift into, Walmart as a whole. Do you see the same type of, Google Ads scenario playing out with Walmart's marketplace as a whole?
I do, yeah. I don't know the timing on it, but I definitely see that happening.
I have to say a decade behind Amazon. So
it's that's kind of how I think about it. Not that extent, but yes, they are just a few years behind Amazon on a lot of things. I think Walmart has an incredible opportunity from a Google perspective with their stores, right? Because with Google and actual retail locations, you can start doing really cool geo-targeting things, right? Like if you're, like, okay, so I'm in Seattle. I don't think we have any Walmarts in Seattle proper. We have them in the suburbs, right? And all of a sudden with Google ads, you can start geo-targeting suburbs and sending people from their store, from their laptop to Walmart near me. Hey, I'm looking for a cobweb duster. All of a sudden, geo-targeting an ad to suburb Seattle with a coupon that says go in store and pick it up from Walmart or stuff like that. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do from a traditional e-commerce perspective on Walmart, which they're making good strides on, but also pushing people to their actual stores with geo-targeting strategies. So there's definitely a huge opportunity there. We are, talking with Walmart of like, what is that opportunity? How can you do it? They do need to build out a certain level of foundation, just like Amazon did they have Amazon attribution in beta, which we piggyback off of. Walmart needs to have some sort of foundation just like that so you can connect the dots. But from my understanding is they are working on it and they'll get there, but it's not super immediate, I would say. I think they're going to start testing some things, and there's a huge opportunity because they are so big. They've been around for so long and they do have such a great loyal customer base. The other thing I would say about it is with Walmart, you have all those retail stores that Amazon doesn't have. So that's a huge advantage, but also they made a huge stride last year in taking market share for e-commerce. I saw an infographic to where, like 5 years ago, like Amazon had like 50% of e-commerce market share or whatever, and Walmart had 0 or like 0.001. I think this last year, Walmart got like up to like 5%, which was a huge, huge stride, a huge jump year over year. So while there's still a long way to go, they're heavily investing in that journey. So it'll take some time, but they're a few years behind, but I think they're going down that path for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got to get their retail media strategy, their ad network just for on-site advertising worked out, and they're making some great strides there, changing their bidding structure, but yeah, they're going to have to get some kind of attribution there. But I think it's years away because they're still trying to build up that internal retail media network. That's what they're trying to do, and it's taking up the majority of their time and resources. I think they figure it out. I was this close to giving up on Walmart like a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I think they seem to stub their toe like 6 times in a row, and they couldn't help but stub their own toe. And I think they're coming out of it now. So I've actually got the other side. You just have brands rooting for Walmart to win. They want competition out there, which brings us up to then Target. Like, what do you see going on with Target as a whole?
Yeah, Target's interesting. It's nowhere near obviously where Amazon's at. It's nowhere near where Walmart's at, but it is there. It's like consistently floating right around on the outskirts there. It's not been a focus for us, so I can't speak too informed, I guess, around where I think Target's going to be. Walmart's a focus for us. I think they're closer than Target is, but I'm not too familiar with what Target's been doing to invest. I do know on the Walmart side, though, that from my understanding, they've been poaching some folks from Amazon in that kind of digital ad space. So they have a playbook from Amazon on how to execute it. They did stub their toe for sure, as you said, but it's been smoother and smoother from my understanding the last several months, last half year. And I'm very excited what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah. What was, I want to jump back just to that unbox. We jump back to Amazon advertising because I think it shapes the rest of the retail media ecosystem as a whole. Were there like key takeaways you had from that conference? I mean, outside that it was very, very highly scripted. One of my biggest key takeaways was, how much they were pouring. And everybody talks about how much Amazon loves the customer, right? And, as a brand, a lot of times you get beat up, but the end consumer, the customer gets treated really well. Well, if you're in the advertising space, you're a customer, you're buying from Amazon, and how nice and everything they were to everybody, and how, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that they were pouring into customers again. But when you step away from when you're selling to Amazon, they seem to kind of beat you up a lot. But were there any like key takeaways you had besides how scripted it was?
Yeah, it was super scripted, which, I get, but I think you and I talked about it. It was like the keynotes were a little bit, I don't want to say like dull by any means, but it wasn't. Obviously, Amazon's matured a ton over the last 10 years. Hopefully, with how scripted it is, they're still able to be nimble to some extent and act like a startup. We just hired a woman to lead our customer success team here. She was at Amazon for 10 years. And, she was telling me stories about what Amazon was like 10 years ago, right? And it was a startup 10 years ago. Now it's very much not a startup, but hopefully they can keep some sort of that mentality so that they can continue to innovate and stay ahead of the pack, obviously, since we do a lot of business with them. But my biggest takeaway was it was interesting when you looked at the expo hall floor, which is where I spent most of my time. It was a lot of different ad buying opportunities from Amazon. It wasn't just sponsored ads. It was, Whole Foods. It was Amazon Fresh. It was buying ads there. It was buying ads for Thursday Night Football. And it was like, oh my God, like this ecosystem goes so much farther beyond just their 3P marketplace, right? It goes all over. So I think that's interesting. And, my takeaway was, whoa, like this selling community, yes, there's a lot of 3P sellers. Yes, there's a lot of, mom and pops that are selling, but like Amazon's continuing to go up market towards the brand, right? If you're selling products on Amazon, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, like why would someone who's just selling products on Amazon ever buy a Thursday Night Football ad? They wouldn't. A brand would buy a Thursday Night Football ad, right? And so they're just continuing to do all these things for brand building, not just moving more products. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing to kind of keep an eye on over these next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you see, they had Carnival Cruise Lines there, right? And they were, I mean, I think also like the scripted piece, kind of when I look at it is Amazon's such a behemoth now. Comments they make, like, can
move markets.
Yes, literally. Yes, you put it well. Can move markets, and therefore they have to be very, very careful about what they're saying, because literally, if you see the size, if you go back to some of their conferences in the past, the press section isn't that big. In this case, there's a giant press section. The press wanted to be there, and they're scrutinizing every single word that comes out. And so they're trying to, make a read. There's the investment piece. Anyways, I understand why they did it, but I think back to the good old, days, the early on days of like IRCE, where Scott Wingo ran the Amazon and Me conference. You just have people up there just hashing through issues and problems. And it's a little different than it is now. There's not just
very different.
The open Q&A isn't there anymore. The open Q&A.
No, nope, not at all. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you would even see like, they would ask a question and you'd go, oh, that's a good question. And you look back at the prompter on the back and go, that was also a scripted question.
Yeah. For those of you who could attend it, everything was written on these like giant jumbotrons, 50 by 50 jumbotrons behind you. So if you missed anything, you just literally can turn around and watch the words scroll across the screen. Neither here nor there. It's all good. I mean, it's just funny because how many people I'm a networker at the end of the day. I'm addicted to people. That's what I say. And e-commerce. And so for me, I thought it was fantastic. I know the sessions were a little bit short on info, just because there wasn't the open Q&A at the end. But I mean, running into, Destiny and these people that have been in the community for so long that we never got a chance to connect. I mean, that's for just, chatting. There's some people, one lady I have 1,044 connections with. And so, I don't know. I thought at the end of the day, it was a great conference. What do you get pumped about? Like for 2023, like what gets you excited across the board?
Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to the brand building stuff that I keep talking about. I get so excited when I see a brand that has a built out Amazon storefront where they've actually invested in highlighting their brands. And when you talk to them, I talked to a lot of brands this last year that say, hey, do you have an Amazon storefront? And more often than not, people would say, yeah, but like, I don't really do anything with it. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't do anything with it? Like, you have free space on the best website in the world to highlight just your brand with no competition. What do you mean you don't have a strategy for that? And I think towards the end of the year, I started having conversations where, people would be like, of course I have a storefront. And here's what I'm doing with it. I'm doing brand sponsored ads. I send all my email traffic there. I send my external traffic there. And when I talk to brands like that, I get so excited that these Amazon brands are starting to think like a brand, right? How do you highlight your brand? How do you get brand awareness? How do you think about things like lifetime value? I did not hear, like, coming from D2C, the word you hear all the time is LTV, lifetime value. If I get a customer, my acquisition costs is break even the first time, but I know that they're going to buy 3 more things from me over the next 365 days. That's awesome, right? That's what D2C companies think about. On Amazon, I don't think I ever heard the term LTV for the first year of working with Amazon brands, but I started to hear tricklings of it over the last 6 months. And so that kind of stuff gets me really, really excited when I talk to brands that are thinking about that. Obviously, subscribe and save's like a straightforward one, but new to brand customer, that's an Amazon metric that they share, right? Like, that's a metric that everyone should be thinking about, because if you can start to look at, okay, a new to brand customer, what's my acquisition cost for that versus a customer that's already bought from me before? Stuff that people haven't really thought about on Amazon. But hopefully, as Amazon opens up more of this branding opportunity, more data, like in the end of the day, it comes down to data. Amazon has it. They're starting to release some of it. They're moving those guardrails a little bit. But that's the kind of stuff that gets me really, really excited, because then it all of a sudden goes from, not to dumb down what a lot of Amazon sellers do, but it goes from sourcing a product, moving a product, and making sure you have margins, to a huge strategy of sourcing, repeat customers, brand building, moving the product, building that brand, having multiple channels. All of a sudden you're having this strategy, and it's not hacks, right? Like, a lot of Amazon brands built their business on hacks, which you had to. It's the Wild West, right? But now I think this next stage is, okay, how do you like out strategize your competition? And there's a lot of ways to do it now, and there's more ways developing each day.
No, I agree. It's the hacks is what got me, right? That's what you had to do back in the day. And you're trying to game the algorithm, but now you can actually you don't have to game it. You just, you just have to play by the rules, and you can win. So are you seeing a lot of people use your platform for like new item launch as well? Because that's a huge thing that comes up all the time, right? Is I got a new item, I got to launch it, but there's no detail page views. So are you seeing, I know people, so it's hard to do Amazon advertising on a new item when there's no detail page views and no conversion, because it's a brand new item, right? But you can drive off Amazon traffic. So that's something that came to mind. And the other one is, are there any like key things that you see people doing wrong? Like a number one thing, not wrong, but hey, they could be doing better. I just know you guys work with a ton of brands now, and you can jump in and say, hey, this is the number one place, people are skinning their knees. So kind of a couple questions there.
Yeah, I'll start with the product launches. Yes, we see people using Google Ads for product launches all the time. They use it through Amped a lot of the time for that. It's a different expectation, obviously, than if you're using Google Ads on a product that has 10,000 reviews. For product launches, what we teach and what we recommend is throw $10 a day of Google Ads at it, and just have a nice, constant, steady stream of really good quality external traffic coming in. You're probably not going to see an incredible ACoS on that. You're probably not going to see an incredible ROI, but it's all working together to lift up that product. During that honeymoon period, Amazon's doing everything, their algorithms doing everything they can to understand, what is this product? Where does it fit into our marketplace? And if you're showing Amazon that you have an external traffic strategy and that you're committed to this product, we've seen that can be pretty impactful on driving up ranking. It's a long game, right? It's not something that we say, hey, put $10 on it for a week and then turn it off. It's just that constant, steady stream through that honeymoon period to help get that product lifted off the ground. That's the strategy that we recommend for product launches. We also do not recommend spending much more than $10 a day, because the direct ROI is not going to be incredible. Like, you're not going to see $10 in, $20 out every single day on a product launch from Google Ads. It's unlikely to happen, but it's that constant steady feeding that's more of a passive strategy to help lift up that product during the first few months of it. That's what we see for product launches.
Awesome. What about like when you're engaging with a new brand? Are there common mistakes that you see that you're constantly fixing that people, should be? I always like to think, like, on the back end of these conversations, people are taking, key takeaways, right? And, we talked a lot about, Google Ads as a whole, how to analyze if your product's right for it. But are there ways, like, there's like a number one thing or two things that stick out in your mind where you engage the brand, you're like, literally everybody does this and they should stop? Or
there are. We do our best to try to like take that, put it back into our product and like nip that stuff in the butt as people are using the product. But the biggest thing that we haven't really been able to address with our product beyond just like help center articles and webinars and training is so often people will take their Amazon ads, their keywords from Amazon ads, and plug them into Google Ads. And people search the two platforms completely differently. So what happens is, like an obvious example is like say a whiskey drinking glass, right? On Amazon ads, you could probably get away with like bar accessories, drinking cups, those kind of keywords, gifts for men, whatever. If you plug those into Google Ads, I can guarantee you're not going to get conversions. And you're also not going to get that halo impact from just feeding the ranking algorithm the external traffic that it wants, because it's not good quality traffic. Instead, on Google, you need to find those product specific, more long tail keywords. So it's a crystal whiskey drinking glass. You got to find those keywords on Google that are crystal whiskey drinking glass, crystal glass for drinking, crystal whiskey glass, right? Those kind of keywords that are super product specific. That's the difference between the two platforms. There's also no images on Google Ads. So you can't rely on your images to qualify the traffic. Think about an Amazon search result. You search, drinking accessories. You can scroll through visually until you find whatever drinking accessory you kind of want to get. Or at Google, if you type drinking accessories, there's no images. So you're just looking at ad copy to see, okay, what ad copy is telling me about a product that I might want. So you need that ad copy to be very qualifying and very descriptive of the product. So before someone clicks on the ad, they can start to kind of go, okay, mentally, I know what this product is. They're further qualified. They're further down the funnel. That has two impacts. First off, it helps your conversion rates to have better quality traffic coming in. But it also has a bigger impact on ranking. Amazon actually, we saw it for the longest time, over a year. Actually, our not to get distracted here, but our beta launch, we didn't even use attribution. We just used external traffic and we measured the impact on ranking. And there was a very clear impact on ranking. When you bring in external traffic, it was impacting the ranking of that product on Amazon. And so we saw that. A lot of our brands see that pretty consistently. But this year, Amazon actually hosted a webinar for us, and they actually showed case studies where Amazon legal approved said external traffic has a snowball effect on ranking. So we always call it the halo effect. They call it the snowball effect. But that snowball effect comes from qualified traffic. If you just bring in horrible traffic that's at the top of the funnel and just hits Amazon and bounces, or hits Amazon and doesn't do anything, that's not going to give you the snowball effect. But if you have product specific buying intent keywords to where that customer comes in, they spend time looking at your images, they spend time on your product page, they spend time looking through that product, that's when you see the impact on ranking. So you have to qualify that traffic, and qualifying that traffic, come full circle, comes down to picking the best keywords on Google Ads, which is going to be different than your Amazon keywords.
Awesome.
The other thing too, it goes into a strategy that we teach a lot, but Amazon storefronts are a really great area to send traffic to, because you can build out landing pages And again, this comes from our D2C experience that a lot of Amazon brands don't have. But when you send Google traffic to a D2C store, you can do everything you want to the Google ad, pick the right keywords, build good ad copy. It's kind of par for the course at this point in the game for D2C companies. The biggest thing that can have the biggest difference in your conversion rates and your return on ad spend is the landing page experience. So D2C companies spend millions of dollars optimizing their website, optimizing the landing page, moving the call to actions around, changing the color of the call to actions, right? To try to influence that buying decision. Well, all those strategies that they do on D2C, for the most part, you can now do on Amazon storefront pages. You can build out custom landing pages on Amazon storefronts. It has your brand. You can put your products all over the page. You can have call to actions. You can do all these things to improve conversion rates. So it's not a mistake that a lot of brands make, but it's an opportunity that a lot of brands don't take advantage of, to where you can send traffic to a product listing page, it works, but you can't really adjust that product listing page because that's the Amazon marketplace. Amazon storefronts, you can manipulate that page to your heart's desire. And there's a lot of best practices that you can incorporate that improve conversion rates. So we try to recommend to our brands as often as possible, send traffic to a well-built, well-designed Amazon storefront landing page, because we see it improves conversion rates 2 to 3 times better than just product listing pages.
Awesome. I think over this next year, there's going to be more holistic strategies, omni-channel strategies for how do you blend everything D2C, all your different ad channels, Amazon, in-store is going to be super interesting. I spent the last 40 minutes now, it seems like, picking your brain. Anything top of mind questions you have for me as we kind of get to the end here?
Yeah, I was curious. I mean, obviously we met at Unbox. What other shows do you go to throughout the year, and which ones did you find the most successful, most impactful, most informative?
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen a lot of them just change over the years too. I mentioned, IRCE back in the day with the Amazon and Me.
Oh yeah.
And that was great. And they used to actually answer questions. And now I've seen a lot of them. They don't quite ever get to, I'm talking the breakout sessions, right? They don't get to the questions. So you get to the end, they're like, hey, do you have this problem? Yes. Well, I see everybody got the problem. Here's the issue. Here's how the problem starts. This is where the problem gets. Now, if you want to solve it, follow up with me afterwards. So I look at them as networking events. So when I break it down that way, it'll be interesting. We're doing 3 dinners outside NRF this year. That's in a couple weeks here. NRF last year was dead, but it was still COVID time. So, but then you hit Shop Talk, which was amazing from a networking. It was, I think it says e-tails homecoming or something like that. E-commerce homecoming. That was great. So nice, which ones do I really like? I like E-Tail West. I like Shop Talk. The Prosper Show is almost running its course in my mind. I still like it, but it's almost running its course like all these conferences do. IRCE, I used to like it back in the day, but then it was Retail X. And then then last year it was RICE. They switched the letters around from IRCE. So that'll be interesting to see how that. I used to like that one, but I'm in the Midwest, so that was an easy drive over to Chicago. Money 2020 is always good. And so those are kind of the ones from my side. We're at just about all of them at this point in time, just doing, stuff for the network. There's just thousands of brands in the network now, and it's just nice to show up and do a networking dinner around a lot of these events. Yeah. So, but those are probably it. I think even getting back into this year as a whole, they're going to even be more back to, a lot of people were talking a couple of years ago, our trade show's dead. Nothing replaces the in-person handshaking. And that's whether it's brands. I know on the service provider side, they love being there and shaking hands. But nothing beats breaking bread with somebody. And so me as a people person,
agreed.
I go to all of them if I could.
Yeah. Get your miles in. Is Etel West? Is that still at the JW Marriott in Palm Springs?
Yeah, I think so. I'll have to check where it's at this year. Yeah, I mean that's always fun to get to.
Pre-COVID, I did that like 5 years in a row, and that one was always good. It was a great venue, great size, and it was easy for us on the West Coast. But I always really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that one's really it's the same thing. It's the right size, right? We're going to do 4 of our own events, maybe even 6 this year, but 4 in Midtown Manhattan. We usually target around 200 to 250, somewhere in there. That's usually a great number. We're still intimate. You still get to talk with everybody. You still get to network, and you just do it in one day rather than multi-day flights in, all that other stuff. So I'm biased on our own just because it's all educational, informational. There's no sales pitches. It's just great brands and great people. So yeah, I'm excited for 2023. We just launched an advisory board. It's going to be a fun year. That's what I think. As far as digital goes, I think we're at a point where there's a little bit less chaos. I know, and we have different tools that can help us actually get over the hump and talk upwards. That's one of the biggest things I see is people. It's difficult to explain upwards in the organization. Still, there's still executive teams that literally they understand what e-commerce is. They understand its importance, but the inner workings and the complexity of it. Right. And I always say in the absence of knowledge, people do 2 things. They assume the worst and they assume they oversimplify, right? Everything. They assume the worst.
Yeah,
and
it's oversimplification. Yeah.
Oh, this is just easy. Well, we just launched this product. Why is it selling more on Amazon? Oh, it's because you're not doing what you're doing. No, actually, it's because it's really, really hard. So it's interesting. There's a bunch of new players that are popping up. That's really cool. I think QR codes are going to change the landscape. And yeah, what are you excited about? I just, grab the last
QR codes are having their 15 minutes. I am excited to see where those go. I mean, it obviously like they've been around for a while. I think they were ahead of their time. And, then they really started getting their heyday with COVID menus, right, at restaurants. But now it's super cool to see what brands are doing beyond that, right? It's like you actually, it's the package inserts with a QR code to websites and to landing pages and all that stuff. That's super cool, right? And it's like so basic, but so powerful for brand building. And
nobody's typing in a URL anymore. Nobody's typing in a URL. So now, and there's one, actually next week I'm recording, next week or the week after, doing one of these podcasts on QR codes. There's a company out there that's released a conversion pixel. So there's like full funnel online to offline attribution. Like
that's cool.
That is going to be, it's going to be I'm excited for 2023. So, and thanks so much, Tyler. Like, you guys are part of the excitement about what's going on. Well, people like you and the business you have and what you guys are doing, how you're helping brands. I just get pumped when I get to connect with other resident experts. So thanks so much for your time today. Again, everybody, Tyler Gregg with Amped, AMPD. Check them out on LinkedIn. If you need a connection, everybody, you can always email me, Aaron, AARON at BWGConnect.com. We can get you a connection over there. But with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Aaron.